Hey guys, today I'll be going over TITANIC MUTILATE since it got buffed recently and it's doing really well now. Firstly, I'll go over my gear. I did finally get the ring upgrade from Mount Ohio, so that's awesome. But as usual, I'm just going to hover over it and you guys can take a look. So going over the REs, of course, TITANIC MUTILATE. Here comes the big one: Titanic Finale, Zephyr, Draconic Bloodthirst, Poleaxe, Unending Fury, Dual Specialization, and Critical Bloodthirst. For this spec, you really need to have high critical chance. That's why we're running Draconic Bloodthirst for the extra 9%. And we're also running Critical Bloodthirst for extra 6%. And if we look at my character sheet, I have 70% crit chance. And the reason for this is because Bloodthirst is going to be your top damage by far, so you want to make sure that it always crits, or at least as much as possible. So just keep that in mind when you're playing this spec. So breaking down TITANIC MUTILATE, when you have this already learned, you immediately change it into TITANIC MUTILATE, dealing 20% more damage on bleeding targets. Your Bloodthirst also now deals 10% more damage per combo point, so up to 50% more damage. And additionally, your whirlwind also procs Blood Rage, which also procs Enrage. And the capstone from Unending Fury now reduces the cooldown on whirlwind by an additional second. So with that in mind, you want to stack up as much damage as you can on Bloodthirst, and that's the main reason why we're running. Here comes the big one, right? Gives us 150% more damage. And then one more thing I want to mention is, I think a lot of people don't really know, is that Bloodthirst, if you look here, the damage is increased by an additional 8% for every additional bleed you have on the target, up to maximum of 40%. So just keep that in mind. Of course, we're just running for this spec, I'm just running Bloodbath and Deep Wounds. But if you want to try like Rend or like a Roll or Rupture or any other bleeds, feel free to try it out. Based on my testing, they're not worth the GCD, and refreshing them is not really worth it. So just using Bloodbath and Deep Wounds is good enough. The rotation is Bloodthirst, Whirlwind, and TITANIC MUTILATE in this order. I will have the macro in the description below, so make sure to use it. The reason I have the abilities in this order is because it always lines up your proc perfectly to get the most damage out of Bloodthirst. What I mean by this is that you will always line up the big one for 150% more Bloodthirst damage, plus Surge for 50% more armor penetration, and also refresh Bloodbath on your next Bloodthirst. On top of all this, you also want to be timing your Hunger for Blood for the additional 10% damage boost. One more thing to note is Bloodbath's refresh time. There's only like 2 seconds left before Bloodbath is refreshed. So if you're moving a lot, or not hitting the boss, or not pressing the macro all the time, there's a good chance you won't refresh Bloodbath on time. So just be aware of that. And that's pretty much the whole rotation. It's just boosting your Bloodthirst damage as much as possible. For AoE, it's obvious that this spec will perform well. It's always had that history because of the low cooldown on whirlwind. Overall, this spec is very good at the moment and I highly recommend it. Anyways, that's all I have for this spec, so if you found it got helpful, I'd appreciate if you could subscribe and hit the like button. Thanks for watching.